Marshall, and Farboard. Maybe not much of an adventure by today's standards, but quite something for 5 middle-aged men. We saw wonders which I didn't know existed. In one harbor, we came upon 2 ships which were manned by handicapped persons. Some of the crew had lost legs or arms through disease or accident. A blind fellow from the Ministry of Culture in Munich showed us the operation of a sound-actuated compass which enabled him to helm the boat and maintain an accurate compass course. One member of the crew, who was without legs, explained that the blind had an advantage which the rest of us did not. They could better sense the wind on their cheeks and could thus better set their sails to the wind. From these courageous sailors, we learned a lesson on overcoming adversity, a lesson on optimism, and a desire and a determination to live life to the hilt. We saw very small towns where men were actively engaged in building ships to go down to the sea. And we heard talk of the fishing fleets, which once made the ports active commercially, but which were now very still. We had wonderful weather, sun, blue skies, and just enough thunderstorms to raise the flow of adrenaline to keep us from being bored. We had wind that was too strong for our sailing abilities, but also we had wind that was so meek and mild it would not have challenged a baby. We practiced navigation. We ate like hungry seamen. Each of us, we had a great time without doing anyone, including ourselves, any harm. We returned with treasured memories. We sat around and talked. When the wind is right and the course is true, sailing a boat is a fairly easy task. 1 man sailed and 5 men towed. I shared with the others a problem that was facing me. The problem of what I was going to say on this very occasion. The 5 of them put their minds to it. We thought of our most valuable experiences and our most memorable experiences. The more we thought, the more ideas we had. We wanted to tell you about the problems and about the challenges in your future. We wanted to help you, to inspire you to perform better than we had done and better than you knew you could do. We wanted to let you know how proud we were that you had made life's journey this far so well. We wanted to let you know that we were hopeful that your past successes were indicative of an even greater accomplishments in the future. But every time the discussions got hot and heavy, impassioned and really interesting, our skipper would intervene with some very hard work for us to do. So we were never quite really able to work all of our ideas out. I've got to tell you, however, that sailing and planning a sailing trip is a lot of hard work. We had to make minute plans concerning every detail of the trip. How much food we were going to take, who was to buy what, how we were to share costs, what type of clothing we needed to take with us, work clothing for sailing, dress clothing for shore, survival clothing in case of disaster. When we arrived at Kiel, I wondered how we would ever manage to stow all of our gear aboard the boat. But as usual, our skipper proved equal to the task, and his prior planning paid off. The boat was marvelously equipped, complete with sails, anchor, lines to make fast ashore, lights for night navigation, a radio for communication, and a complete set of up-to-date charts of the waters that we would sail. And we had another radio for the weather. We even had cooking facilities aboard. And by now, I guess that you're probably beginning to wonder why I'm telling you about this trip. And the reason I'm telling you is because it brought back a lot of lessons which I've always found to be true, and which I ask you to consider because these lessons may be helpful to you as well. Your journey through life is very much like our trip on that sailboat. The charts, the books of navigation and mathematical tables, and the weather reports are all the knowledge that you need to acquire in order to guide your ship over the perilous waters of life, avoiding the rocks and reefs which could bring disaster. Our ship even had a depth sounder which could tell us how close we were to danger below, but could not tell us how close we were to danger ahead. Much of what you have been doing in your studies in the past few years has been acquiring that body of knowledge which will help you to plan your course in the future. But you must be mindful. Some of this knowledge is like our weather reports, which were transitory in nature and had to be continually revised in light of changing conditions. So too must your thirst for knowledge be. It must be built on solid principles, yet updated in an ever-changing world. Some of our knowledge was based on the experience of our skipper, but we did not know our skipper well enough to implicitly trust and agree with everything that he said, so we had to check him out. We cross-checked that knowledge with the knowledge of other skippers whose paths we crossed and whose berths nearby we moored. And we were lucky enough to find that their judgment reflected the judgment of our skipper, and most importantly, about sailing that particular boat. But knowledge alone was not enough. We had to have a set of principles, each for a number of disciplines. For without a set of principles to guide us in sailing and reading the wind, we could not have gotten our boat to move. Without a set of principles of navigation, we could not have got our boat to move where we wanted it to move. And without a set of principles of cooking, we could not have enjoyed our journey so much. In addition to knowledge, you must develop a set of principles which will help you chart your life's course among the perils of wind, weather, and sea, so that you will arrive at your chosen goals. However, knowledge and principles were not enough. We also had to have a set of tools to use the principles, to apply the knowledge, to achieve our goals. These tools range from the ship itself, to the special sails for the various wind conditions, to the twin compasses we steered by, to the radio we listened to the dividers we used in laying out our course, to the dry ice that we used to keep our food cold, to the stove we cooked it on. Your tools include your native intelligence, your abilities to communicate with others, whether reading, writing, speaking, singing, dancing, or painting. Your tools include a thirst for new experiences, knowledges, and the development of new abilities. Your tools include your good health and the strength, stamina, and endurance of youth, which will later be replaced by the wisdom and experience of age. Take care of and preserve these tools so that they serve you well. If you do, then you'll be able to better serve your society, your country, and your God. Don't think it is easy to steer a theoretical course 40 miles across open water and come within 50 yards of your intended mark, for it is not. But with a good and dedicated helmsman, confident in his own ability, disciplined enough to make self-corrections from his deviations from course, we did just that. And you who are now the helmsmen and women of the ships of your own journey through life must do the same. You must exercise confidence in your own ability. And you must be disciplined enough to administer self-correction to bring yourselves back to the true course you have set for yourself, when, as you inevitably will, deviate from that course. Those of you who drive a car know that steering is a constant process of self-correction. When you're steering your life like crossing open water, the signposts are few and far between. The room for error is greater, and correspondingly greater the need for self-confidence and self-discipline, which I call character. And you will need all of that you can get. Still, I would be remiss if I did not confess to you of something that all of us need, and we had a lot of, and that is luck. Not that the luck was always there, because we had a battery problem, and we couldn't get the motor on my automobile to start without help from the outside. We made errors, and we put up the wrong sails in the wrong order. We had rain and gray days, cold weather, and days without a breath of air. But all of these were minor problems. We had no major seasicknesses, no real injuries. In short, we had incredible luck. And now for one final anecdote. One day, while we were laying at anchor in a small cove, a young German sailor who was on duty in Flensburg was sailing in a little tiny sailboat. He sailed by us, and he stopped and asked us if we had a recent weather report. He was on his vacation, and he was sailing through the Baltic Sea all by himself. He would sail by day, and he was camping by beaches at night. And when he sailed up to us, we invited him on board, and we gave him the weather report, and we gave him a warm meal. And he gave us the benefit of sharing his adventures. I envied the freedom, courage, optimism of his youth, and enjoyed the exchange of insight and information. And when he departed, I was warmed by the experience of extending a friendly, warm, and helping hand. And you too must be ready to extend a helping hand when it is needed. And if you do, I think you will find yourself rewarded far beyond your expectations, and your life will be far richer from that experience. I wanted to share these experiences with you because I think they point out some of the abiding principles you will need to call upon during your journey through life. Knowledge, principles, self-confidence, self-discipline, overcoming adversity, courage, optimism, honesty, and the willingness to lend a helping hand. I thank you for the privilege of speaking here today, and my very best wishes to all of you for health, happiness, and continued success. Thank you.